I think it's important to give some voice to the people who are expressing all the ideas I just got done describing. Not just the view that Tucker Carlson is wrong and that people who think like Tucker Carlson are wrong, but that Tucker Carlson is somebody who is so beyond the pale that no one in the conservative movement should be able or should continue to associate with him at all. That nobody should consider him or Nick Fuentes. Basically anybody who is very critical of Israel should not consider them welcome in decent society within the conservative movement. And it's completely unsurprising where this came from, but it came from people with a platform. As I said, senators and members of Congress were on Sunday news shows saying this. One of the condemnations, one of the decrees on behalf of Israel that was issued today that got a lot of attention, among the most attention online, was issued by Benjamin Shapiro, the founder of Daily News, how can we say this without understating the case, a obsessive, lifelong devotee of Israel. I think that's fair. Here is what he tweeted earlier today, quote, "No to the groypers, no to cowards like Tucker Carlson who normalize their trash, no to those who champion them, no to demoralization, no to bigotry and anti-meritocratic horseshit, no to anti-Americanism, no." Isn't it just, by the way, a bit amazing and ironic that this exact sector of the right, the Ben Shapiro right, that dressed up as free speech crusaders for all those years only to now cheer Trump's punishment of people who criticize Israel, their main grievance, even beyond censorship, was the fact that racism and bigotry accusations are constantly weaponized by the left to destroy the reputations of conservatives, to intimidate people from expressing opinions that are different than the ones the Democratic Party holds. And one of the dominant features of conservative discourse now is to just scream racist and bigot and anti-Semite at everybody who disagrees with the Ben Shapiro view about Israel, which had been the bipartisan view in Washington. And so now you hear people like Ben Shapiro who are mocking racism claims and bigotry claims from every other group to which he doesn't belong. Oh, that's snowflake behavior. It's just self-victimization. These people just want to have excuses for their own failures. And now suddenly, in so much of what Ben Shapiro and people like him say, you will always inevitably find racism accusations against people who are critical of Israel. And that's, of course, an accusation he applied not just to Nick Fuentes, but also Tucker Carlson in decreeing that Tucker should no longer be welcomed in the conservative movement as a result of his views on Israel. Here's what he said.
Hey, folks, I want to do something different on today's show. We're going to cover one topic in depth. That topic is, I think, the most important thing happening in the country. It was a hot topic last week, but I wanted to take some time to really gather my thoughts and speak on it in coherent fashion, holistic fashion. That topic is the fragmentation of the political right. That fragmentation is being caused purposefully by a splinter faction of people led by a young man named Nick Fuentes. They call themselves the Groypers. They are white supremacists. They hate women, Jews, Hindus, many types of Christians, brown people of a wide variety of backgrounds, blacks, America's foreign policy, and America's Constitution. They admire Hitler and Stalin. And that splinter faction is now being facilitated and normalized within the mainstream Republican Party. The main agent in that normalization is Tucker Carlson, who is an intellectual coward, a dishonest interlocutor, and a terrible friend. And Tucker Carlson last week was aided, abetted, celebrated for normalizing Nazism within the Republican Party by the mainstay organization of the traditional right, the Heritage Foundation.
Is there anyone who actually believes that it's some kind of unrelated coincidence that, again, nobody like Ben Shapiro would have ever spoken of Tucker Carlson in those terms for decades until he started criticizing Israel? And are we really supposed to be amenable to the argument that the reason all these people are turning on Tucker and trying to destroy him and expel him from the conservative movement isn't because he criticizes Israel? Could the alignment be any more obvious? Speaking of which, another outlet that tried to condemn Tucker in similar terms is the Free Press, owned by one Barry Weiss, who is now the editor-in-chief of CBS as a result of the Ellison family purchasing that, and Free Press is part of CBS as well. Here is from October 31st, the title of that article, MAGA's False Patriots. When Tucker Carlson praises Moscow and mocks Washington, it's not just bad optics, it is a sign that parts of the right have stopped loving this country. This rhetoric should be very familiar. You can go back and find, as a matter of fact, in National Review, which is the next outlet of conservative thought that is denouncing Tucker that we want to show you. In 2002, it published an article by David Frum entitled Unpatriotic Conservatives, and it was about all the conservatives who opposed the invasion of Iraq, like Pat Buchanan and Ron Paul, and it pronounced them all unpatriotic conservatives. If you disagree with the government, you don't love your country. If you question why the United States supports Israel, it means you don't love your country. Isn't that bizarre that Tucker has his criticism, like a lot of people, aimed at a foreign country called Israel, and as a result, the Free Press accuses him of not loving America, as though a requirement for being an American patriot is to love Israel as much as Barry Weiss does. So much of this is embedded in the discourse. It's just been so implicit there for so long because people have never been permitted to question it without having their careers completely destroyed in the way they're trying to do with Tucker. But there's so many bizarre premises in our discourse that are designed to put those off limits. Here's the National Review, kind of the outlet of archaic Republican establishment thinking, always have been never Trump because of his criticisms or challenges to the Republican establishment, from the editorial board of the National Review, a time for choosing on anti-Semitism. And there you see a picture of not just Nick Fuentes, but also Tucker Carlson. So these factions of the Republican Party, the pro-establishment, pro-Israel faction, they're just now involved in a massive smear campaign. Tucker isn't just in error. He's not just expressing dangerous views. He himself is a racist. He's an anti-Semite, something that apparently got revealed in his late 50s after spending decades giving his opinions on all sorts of issues. Here's the Wall Street Journal speaking of mouthpieces for Republican establishment thought, November 2nd, the new rights, new anti-Semites. Kevin Roberts of the Heritage Foundation flounders in the Tucker Carlson-Nick Fuentes fever swap. Probably the most pro-Israel Republican senator by his own reckoning is Ted Cruz. You may remember in that interview that he did with Tucker Carlson that made him so obsessed with attacking Tucker ever since for months. One of the things Ted Cruz said to Tucker Carlson was that when I ran for the Senate, I vowed that I would wake up every day and be the leading defender of Israel. He said, really, when I ran for the United States Senate, I vowed that I would wake up every day and I would be the leading defender, not of Texas, not of the people struggling economically in his state or in the United States. He said, I vowed that I would wake up every day and be the leading defender of Israel. And he said to Tucker, and that's exactly what I have done. Do you see where all this is coming from? Is there any plausible grounds that it isn't simply because Tucker's criticizing Israel and therefore this massive tsunami of anti-Semitism accusations is being unleashed against him and people who have similar views as he's being held up as the example? It's directed at him, but not because they think they're going to destroy Tucker. As I said, everyone knows Tucker's going to be fine. It's to set an example for people far less protected, far less established and prominent as Tucker, that if they start taking these views, they're going to suffer the same fate. Again, from Barry Weiss's The Free Press, the headline is, Ted Cruz, the fight against anti-Semitism is, quote, existential. The combative Texas senator talks to the Free Press about Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, and the rise of, quote, bilious bigotry and rage on the right. Again, is it not amazing that it's Republican senators who now go around constantly accusing the American right of harboring racists and white nationalists, something that liberals had done for a decade, mocked by every conservative I know? Speaking of Israel fanatics and putting Israel first, here's Congressman Randy Fine, who I should note has a primary challenger in the Republican Party. He was just elected. He filled, I forget, either Matt Gaetz' seat or Mike Waltz's seat when Trump chose Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. Matt Gaetz left Congress. Mike Waltz was National Security Advisor. Those opened up 2 seats in Congress. Randy Fine ran in a special election for 1 and won. But now he has a regular election in next year's midterms. He has a primary challenger to his, let's call it to his right, a kind of America First populist. And President Trump, despite how single-mindedly fixated Randy Fine is on Israel, is not only endorsing Trump, but is raising money for him at the same time that he's trying to remove Thomas Massie from the Congress. Randy Fine spoke at the Republican Jewish Coalition a couple of days ago, and he also talked about Tucker, and this is what he had to say about him.
Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. He has chosen to take on the mantle of leader of a modern-day Hitler Youth, to broadcast and feature those who celebrate the Nazis, those who call for the extermination of Israel, to defend Hamas, to even criticize President Trump for stopping Iran's nuclear ambitions. Friends, make no mistake, Tucker is not MAGA.
I mean, when you see how many people high up in the conservative movement in Washington politics are united and assembled to destroy Tucker as an anti-Semite, you understand the magnitude of it. It's why we're covering it so extensively. And in addition to the fact that I think it says a lot about our politics. And it's just bizarre that someone who arrived in Congress about 3 seconds ago says Tucker Carlson is not MAGA. I guess it's worth remembering that MAGA stands for Make America First Again. And Randy Fine has devoted his whole adult life to Israel, has a gigantic flag of Israel in his office. I don't ever recall Tucker devoting himself to a foreign country or even close to that the way that Randy Fine is. And yet, again, it's not just that in order to be an America patriot, you have to love Israel, but apparently in order to be America first, you not only have to love Israel, but want the U.S. to finance and arm and deploy military assets to protect Israel, to enable their wars. That to me sounds like a pretty direct antithesis of America first, but according to Randy Fine, you cannot be in MAGA. Tucker Carlson no longer MAGA unless you love Israel. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.